take some notes too. Okay, you have permission to go ahead and record. All right, so when we talk, this is a chapter 9 test, and this is all about a rise in popular politics, where we see average white men, laborers, middling farmers, those who don't necessarily own property, they get the right to vote. Their political status is increased, while at the same time, free blacks and women, theirs goes down. Their political rights, they don't have any. There's also a big change in demographics. When we talk about demographics, what are we talking about? What does demographics mean? What is it like? What are the
Abigail Alabaju to the front office for dismissal. Abigail Alabaju to the front office for dismissal.
demographics? What are the demographics of this classroom? We're all what?
Girls.
Right, we're all female. So demographics is the makeup of a population. So when we're talking about the demographics in the early 19th century, we see a big transition. And one of the big transitions is the migration of thousands and thousands of men. Where are they going? And where are the jobs and the opportunities? West. West. That's where the land is. Okay? Right. So there's a lot of reasons why the land is opening up west. Louisiana purchased a lot of that land. You have Jackson's Indian removal policy that opened up a lot of land. Okay? Immigration, a lot of people coming in, and a lot of young men go and look for their opportunity. We talked about Republican motherhood and how in the early Republic, how women for the very first time were able to educate who? Their sons, exactly. And in order for women to educate their sons, they too had to be educated. Especially to educate them on the government itself, on liberty and philosophy and all of that. And the reason why women were chosen to do that is because they themselves embodied virtue. That they were uniquely qualified to do that. They had a nurturing spirit, that they were virtuous. Virtue. And they were wholesome and good. That the female sex was that, and that the male sex was not. That the male sex was corruptible and suited for nothing really good. And this gets preached about and from the pulpit. And they say that women should use that kind of influence, that virtuous influence that they have, to really make society as a whole. Not just teaching their sons and the men in their lives, but just society as a whole, influencing other males. We also see education, public education. Starts in the New England states, Massachusetts, free public education. It's a primary education, reading, writing, some arithmetic. New England merchants especially push this. Why? So they can have a somewhat educated workforce. Makes sense, right? You don't want to hire somebody to count out, to give the wrong count, or somebody who's illiterate. It starts off, like I said, Massachusetts was the first state to offer this, and it spreads further south. This is also available to both men and women, boys and girls. Make sure you know your vocabulary terms, especially the American Colonization Society. And there's not going to be vocab per se on there.
American what?
The American Colonization Society.
It's not really like last time.
No, it's not going to have an actual vocab on there, not looking at you now. So the South has a considerable amount of political clout, and they do so sort of unjustifiably, because they have a significant amount of their population that doesn't get to vote, that actually really isn't even considered, it's not even free. What's that thanks to?
I'm close. I'm really close.
Their house votes or whatever.
So how do you get representation
For your population.
for your population? And how is the South able to get more representation?
By including their slave.
How are they counting those slaves?
2/3 of a person.
Not 3/5.
3/5.
Right, exactly. So, because of that 3/5 compromise that we learned about previously, they now have more representation than honestly their voting population should allow. And they use that political clout to do things like advance slavery, to keep slavery in the country. And when Missouri comes up and wants to apply for slavery, apply for statehood as a slave state, Talmadge, who's a representative from New York, he proposes 2 amendments on that. He says, number 1, no more slaves to be brought into Missouri. Prohibit any more slaves to be brought into Missouri. And also, any of the slaves that are already there, they are to start the process of gradual emancipation. Well, of course, that gets voted down. And the South holds Maine's statehood sort of like at ransom. Who comes in and makes a compromise? Henry Clay. This Missouri Compromise, make sure you understand that. That is one of your vocab terms, and it's definitely on your test. Make sure you read about that one.
Missouri Compromise.
The big adjustment that you see in the political parties is the decline of these notables and the rise of these political parties. Notables are the ones who, they have family connections.